Let's talk about optimizing meta ads. So in today's video, I'm going to discuss my entire thought process behind optimizing ads, both at the ad level and at the ad set level. I'm going to give you a full framework on how to think about optimizing your ads so that you can reliably improve your results. I'm going to answer questions like, when do I optimize ads? What does optimizing ads even really mean? Should we be optimizing at the ad level or the ad set level? How frequently should we be touching our ads? So we're gonna cover all that and more. So without further ado, let's get into it.
All right, you guys. So before we jump into the ads manager, let's just get a shared understanding of what I mean when I say optimizing. So, optimizing simply means diverting spend away from things that are giving you bad results and towards things that are giving you good results. Okay, so that means turning off ad sets or ads that are giving you bad results in terms of your ROAS or your CPA or cost per lead if you're doing lead gen. We're trying to turn those things off so that we can improve our average results. Okay, so and that brings me to another really important point, which is average results. We don't make these decisions based on 1 day worth of data or even 3 days worth of data. We always look at average time periods, like 7 days. I usually make my decisions off of 7 day averages. Um, However, I do look at the full time period as well. I'll look at the maximum time period. I will look at 30 days to kind of see like what's the overall story, 14 days, which is like more recent results, 7 days, which for me is like the best kind of like average results time period to base decisions off of. I'll look at 3 days, last 3 days, to see like where's this thing heading? What's the trajectory? And then I'll look at yesterday to see how it performed most recently. And then today to see how is it performing right now. And that gives me the full story. I will look at the full story before I make that decision, but ultimately I'm making it on that 7 day average. Okay. But it's not only about average time frames, but it's also important looking at the average results in context of your other ads if you're optimizing at the ad level, your other ad sets if you're optimizing within a campaign, and with the average results of your entire ad account. Okay, so there's 3 layers of average results that you have to look at to make your decisions. You can't make these decisions in isolation. Okay, and I'll show you what I mean here in a second. One last point I want to make before we get into the ads manager is um, this thing that I hear online, which is the algorithm is always right. I run ads for a lot of different businesses. I have for years, and I can tell you for certain that the algorithm is not always right. It will skew spend to things that are giving you terrible results, and maybe it's in the best interest of Meta. Maybe Meta's looking out for itself, but it doesn't always have your best interest in mind. Remember, Meta, all they care about is giving a good user experience on the platform and draining the money from advertisers. Okay. So um, you have to look out for yourself, follow the data, follow what works, and don't just like leave things running that are doing terribly because you think at some point they're magically going to do better. It's just not how it works. If the algorithm was always right, my job wouldn't exist. I would be broke. Everybody would be rich. Everybody would be running their own ads. That's not the case, right? You need people that are experts at, picking up on these patterns and diverting spend, just like a financial advisor or somebody that is an investor, right? You are trying to funnel money towards good investments and away from bad investments, and that's what we're doing here. Okay, cool. So let's jump into the ads manager. I'm going to just give you a full rundown of how I think about everything, and I think you're going to get a lot from this. So check it out. All right, so here we are in the ads manager. I'm going to look at the last 7 days. So I basically have two campaigns in my ad account. The top spending one is basically just an ABO testing campaign where I'm testing various angles. And then the second one is just purely retargeting, middle of funnel retargeting. Cool. So first, what am I going to look at? I'm going to look at the last 7 days to just check my results. For me, I have a subscription-based business. This is for my group, right? I would say a $200 CPA is good. Okay. $300 is not very good. It's actually pretty bad. Anything above 300 is not acceptable. Anything below 200, I would consider really, really good. So at the current moment, I have really great results. But there's always room for improvement and I could potentially optimize my way to some even better results. Okay. And in my case, I judge things based off of CPA, but in your case, you could be basing it off of cost per lead, for example, which is similar to CPA, or you may be basing it off of ROAS, which is fine. In my case, my ROAS for the last 7 days is 1.14 on a subscription basis. So my LTV to CAC ratio is extremely good in this case. But that's not the point. My point is I'm looking at the average results across my entire ad account right now. Okay. So now if I was looking for, hey, where can I optimize? Where can I make this better? Well, I would look at the two campaigns that I have. For me, the retargeting is at 116 CPA, 1.71 ROAS, which is like really, really good. So I wouldn't look there. I would look at the other one. I would say, okay, this one is spending the most and it has 194 cost per purchase. Can we bring that down potentially? Well, since we're working in an ABO, I would go into the ad sets and take a look at what we have. So we can see I have basically 3 ad sets live right now. This top spender is at a 190 CPA, which is, it's a little high. The second one is at 168 CPA, which for me is good. And then the other one is at 141 CPA, which is very good. Okay. And I had one on here that was at 276. So you can see this one was driving my average CPA up. So I think it was yesterday I actually closed this one because it was not acceptable. It was making my average results of this campaign, this ABO testing campaign, it was making the average go up, which is what I don't want. So logically, I turned this one off, right? And that's going to help bring down my average results over a 7-day period, right? That's the way that I think about this. Okay, so let's say, hypothetically, I wasn't happy with this top one. What could I do? Well, I could go inside of the ad level and see, is there room for optimization? Can I turn something off that's potentially giving me better results? So what I like to do is I sort by amount spent and I will see what are my CPAs here or what are my ROASs. All right, so in this case, top spender has the highest CPA, very common. Okay, second one has very good CPA. Third one has very good CPA. Fourth one, very good CPA. The bottom 3 are essentially untested. Okay, that's the last 7-day period. This ad set started on the 4th. So let me look at the full context of this this ad set. So from the 4th to today, does that change anything? No, generally the top one still has a pretty high CPA, although it did get better. Let's see. Yeah, it actually dropped pretty substantially from 280 to 220. Okay. The second one's good. The third one came up a little bit. The fourth one's not so good, 183. And then the bottom 3 are essentially untested. This one did get a nice sale though. Cool. Okay. We go back to the last 7 days. Other things that I would look at is last 3 days. So where is this heading? What's the trajectory of this? Last 3 days is at 146, which for me is like phenomenal results. It's like very good. Let's look at yesterday. 135. So yesterday was a very strong day. Very good results. And then so far today, 193. It's fine. It's not amazing, not bad. So based on the last 7 days, sometimes you can also look at last 7 days, including today, if you wanted to include like how things are going right now. But you have to remember that there's delayed attribution. So sometimes, that's not the best idea. Sometimes I do it though. Let's look at last 7 days and let's say, okay, in theory, I would want to turn this one off right here. Okay. The rest, honestly, let me look at the full-time period. So the 2 that I would have my eye on potentially optimizing are these 2, right? Because it's 220 and 180. So these 2 have a higher CPA than the rest. Okay, great. Let's look at the last 7 days just to see, do I still agree with that? Well, this one actually dropped to 133, so it's actually really good. So the only one that I would really think about turning off is this top one. Now that's kind of a risky gamble because it's the top spender. But let's look at hypothetically what it would look like if I were to turn this off. So the trick that I want you to know, this is the filter by selection trick. Essentially, you're going to put a check mark next to all of them aside from the one that you plan to turn off. You're going to look at your average results, 190. You're on 7 days. You're going to look at your average RAWs, 1.04. And then you're going to click in the search bar, click filter by row selected. And now you're going to look at the change. 144. See that? 144. And my ROAS went up to a 1.37. So in theory, I would go from a 190 CPA and a 1.04 ROAS to a 144 and a 1.37. That's a pretty substantial drop in CPA in theory. Okay. But now, we live in reality. So what we have to think about now, what are the different, what is the risk reward here? So a lot of things to consider. First thing is when you turn off the top spender within an ad set, it's like shuffling the deck or rolling the dice. Like anything can kind of happen here. You also have to look at how much did this one, the top spender, spend yesterday. Okay, it spent 96 bucks. Well, if you turn off this top one, that's going to liberate 96 bucks to the remaining 6 ad sets. So if you divide 96 by 6, that's going to give you approximately $16 that each one of these ads is going to absorb when you do that. That's actually fine. That's enough ads that I don't think it's going to have a big impact. But you need to know that if that number is really large and you have only a few ads, you could basically scale up the remaining ads if you liberate too much budget from the thing that you turn off. And that could break the whole ad set, basically. Basically, if the amount that you're liberating, so if you're turning off several ads and it's liberating a very large amount of budget, and you base this off of yesterday's spend, it could throw off the balance of the remaining ads. Like it could scale them in a way and throw off their optimization and just ruin the whole thing. So you have to keep that in mind. So other things that you need to consider, the risk reward here. What I like to do is I ask myself, what do I stand to gain and what do I stand to lose? Okay, so let's think about what do I stand to lose? Well, I would potentially break this one ad set that has 190 CPA over the last 7 days, which is actually getting better over the last 3 days and even yesterday, and today is okay. So that's what I stand to lose. Now, I have 2 other profitable ad sets that are working for me. So it's not the end of the world, but it's not great. I only have 3 total. And then I have my retargeting campaign, which is doing fine. So these are things that I need to consider, like how, if I were to break this ad set completely, just the results go terribly, what would that do to me on this campaign level average? And what would it do to me on the ad account average as a whole? Okay. In my case, like, since 190 is acceptable, it's actually good. I wouldn't want to take this bet because what do I stand to gain? I would stand to go from 190 to 144, which is actually really good. This is where your personal risk tolerance also comes into play, right? If you're a gambling man or woman and you're like, yeah, I want to take that bet, let's go for it. Sure, you could turn off that top one and maybe it'll go down to 140 or 144 or something like that. Or maybe it breaks the whole thing. We're trying to touch this thing as little as possible. And that brings me to another really important point. When you're optimizing, generally, you're trying to make the biggest impact, positive impact, for the least amount of moves. So in my case, I'm trying to touch this thing as little as possible. So there's only one ad here that I would potentially touch. Now, the one ad that I would potentially touch is the biggest spending one. So it's kind of a big action. Okay, but it's just something to consider, right? So since I'm a little bit more, I guess you could say a little bit more conservative, and these average results are good, I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to let it keep training my ad account, keep bringing me new members, and just leave it alone. Once you decide on optimizing something, you have to stand by your decision. The worst thing you can do is say, turn this thing off And then the next day you see bad results and then panic, and then, turn it off or lower the budget or something. You need to basically stand by your decision and number one, give it a chance to work. And number two, see how the optimization plays out. Sometimes it works and that's amazing. Your CPA will drop or your ROAS will come up and life is good. Other times you will break this whole thing. And when that happens, you can basically just try this process again, identify the ads that are giving you bad results over a 7-day period, turn them off, or ask yourself, what do you stand to gain? What do you stand to lose? Decide what you're going to turn it off, give it another 3 to 5 days, right? You can do this process again, or you could downscale the whole thing, or you can just close it, right? And then relaunch and try again, right? This is like a puzzle. For those of you that like puzzles, this is going to be really fun for you because it's like a dynamic puzzle that changes every day and the data is continuously updating. There's a lot of nuance, a lot of things to consider. And when it works, it's just so satisfying. And when it doesn't work, it's really disappointing. So it's a fun game, to be honest. And it's your money on the line. So it's high stakes as well. So stand by your decision. Another reason why we like to leave it alone for several days after we make these decisions is the whole snow globe analogy that I have, which is essentially, I treat the algorithm like a snow globe. Our ad account is like a snow globe. Every time you make a move like this, you edit something, you turn something on, you launch something, you close something, it's like you're shaking the snow globe. The snow goes everywhere. That's volatility in your ad account. That is the algorithm going a little crazy, right? When you leave it alone, when you don't touch it, the snow settles to the bottom, right? And that is the algorithm, settling down, getting its rhythm, figuring out what's going on. And the algorithm performs best in this settled state. So the worst thing you can do is just be shaking the algorithm, shaking the snow globe every day, right? We like to make our move and then let it settle and then see how it plays out, assess the data, and then make our next move and then leave it alone. A meta ads is volatile enough. So, by moving in this methodical, systematic way, you bring a lot more stability into your ad account versus just always, touching it once, twice, 3 times a day or every day or every other day even. It's better to, assess all the available options that you have, weigh out the risk versus reward, make your decision, and then leave it alone for like 3 or 5 days, and then do the whole process again. That is how you move methodically. That is elite media buying right there. And doing it all unemotionally as well. Okay, so just basing it purely off of numbers instead of how you feel about it, right?
All right, so I was watching this back and I realized that I didn't answer one of the main questions that I outlined at the beginning of the video, which is when do you optimize at the ad level and when do you optimize at the ad set level? Okay, so when do we optimize at the ad level? I only optimize at the ad level when I'm working in ad set budgets or ABOs, okay, or single ad set CBOs. Why? Well, in an ABO, the ad sets are not algorithmically competing for spend. So if I were to make a change at the ad level inside one of the ad sets in the ABO, that change wouldn't necessarily affect the relationship between the ad sets. Okay, so you can make your change and then it's just kind of isolated to that ad set. And if it improves, great. If it doesn't, you can close it. It doesn't really ruin the rest, potentially. Same thing with single ad set CBOs. If you're doing like a new campaign each time, you can optimize at the ad level with a single ad set CBO. Just keep in mind, I don't ever add new ad sets into an active CBO for many reasons, but I've covered that in other videos. Okay. Now, the reason why I optimize at the ad set level in multi-ad set CBOs is I'm trying to avoid any domino effect where it's like you edit the ad, which then changes the relationship between those ads, which then messes with the performance of the ad set, which then messes with the relationship of the ad sets, which can then break the whole campaign, right? So we're trying to avoid that domino effect. So to limit the variables, I simply turn off ad sets in multi-ad set CBOs just to, avoid that domino effect. So I hope that clears up when to optimize at the ad set level and when to optimize at the ad level. So just to review, ABOs, ad set budgets, I optimize at the ad level. CBOs with one ad set alone, you can optimize at the ad level.
multi-ad set CBOs, I personally think it's best practice to optimize at the ad set level. So that's everything that I wanted to share with you. There's even more nuance to this, but I don't want to have an hour and a half long video. We do talk about this every single day inside of my group. So if you want to dive deeper into this topic, definitely jump into the group and ask some questions. We can optimize things live with you. It's super fun. Anyways, thanks for watching.
All right, you guys, that's it for today's video. I really appreciate you watching. If you found value in this video, please send it to somebody that you think would benefit from it. And if you want to join a community of like-minded, experienced meta advertisers, then consider joining my school community. It's currently at the lowest price it will ever be, and it's going to be increasing throughout 2026. So get in at the ground floor, get grandfathered in at a low price, and I guarantee you won't regret it. I just want to share this amazing review that I just got from one of my students. This is a new course that I just released that covers my entire meta ads process, from market research all the way to testing and scaling in the ads manager. I'm actually following my own process just to prove that it works. And so far the results are incredible. So if that interests you, click the link in my description and join up, and I'll see you inside. Take care, everybody.